Welcome to our session titled Engaging Students Virtually Using Daily Routines in Nearpod. Bienvenidos. My name is Melissa Moran. I am a Spanish educator at Science Leadership Academy at Beaver in the School District of Philadelphia.
Bienvenue. My name is Sharae Graham. I'm a French educator at Parkway Center City Middle College in the School District of Philadelphia. We are world language professional development facilitators with the Health and Welfare Fund of the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers.
Nearpod is an add-on extension that can easily make your Google Slides into a more interactive lesson, whether virtual, in-person, or hybrid. Some of the ways in which a teacher can create interactive presentations can include quizzes, polls, video, collaborative boards, and much, much more. Here is a snapshot of some essential features included in the free version. There are 3 types of lessons: live participation, student pace, and front of class. Live participation is when teachers control the pace of the lesson and students' participation in the lesson. Student pace is when students can control the pace of the lesson and can work on lesson activities independently or in class. Teachers can schedule the lesson accessibility for students. And lastly, front of class. This is when teachers can use Nearpod in front of their class without students needing their devices to engage in the lesson. Sharing lessons. Students can easily join a lesson by using the auto-generated class code. Teachers can pause and log back into sessions using the code, or they can simply end a session. Icons with assisting with navigation. These are some icons that can be helpful with guiding students with what they need to do, look at, or reference. By simply placing an icon on a slide, students can know what their next steps will be or encourage a reminder to take a screenshot of important information for future reference. We will be incorporating Nearpod add-ons along with Google Slides. And now we will be sharing the top 10 Nearpod tools for the world language classroom.
Tool number 1, draw it. To create a draw it activity, first the teacher selects a prompt. You have the option to add media to accompany the prompt. Most tools have the option to add a timer. Timers are useful to assist in the pacing of the lesson. The Draw It tool also allows teachers to set a background image. This option is great for storyboards or graphic organizers. Another way to incorporate this application includes listen and draw activities. Tool number 2, poll. The poll tool allows teachers to survey students about a topic. As the students respond, a graph of the responses is created. Teachers also have the option to add a timer to help pace the lesson. Teachers can also add media to accompany the question. Some ways to incorporate this application can include polling students for personalized questions and answers. This allows teachers to get an overview of the opinions of the class.
Tool number 3, open-ended question. With the open-ended question feature, teachers can add a timer to help pace the lesson, add media to accompany the question, and capture audio recordings as responses. Some ways to incorporate this application can include students practicing pronunciation, looking up words, and providing time for free write. Tool number 4, multiple choice quiz. With the multiple choice quiz feature, teachers can add a timer to help pace the lesson, and students must finish this in this period of time. You can duplicate the question or delete the question. You can add media to accompany the question, and you can also add additional questions to the quiz. Some ways to incorporate this application can include an assessment tool at the beginning, middle, or end of a lesson.
Tool number 5, matching pairs. This feature is useful for reviewing vocabulary. Teachers have the option to add instructions and a timer depending on the pacing of the lesson. Click Add Pair to begin creating the activity. You have the option to enter text as well as images. Some ways to incorporate this application can include practicing vocabulary and functional chunks of language. Tool number 6, fill in the blanks. Fill in the blank activities are cloze activities. You begin by selecting the color scheme of the activity. Next, write or paste text in the field. Finally, the teacher selects the words that will be replaced by lines. When the students complete the activity, they will have access to a word bank. Some ways to incorporate this application can include a cloze activity with a text that is familiar to the students. Teachers can target vocabulary or grammatical structures important to the unit of study. This is an excellent option for story-based lessons.
Tool number 7, Collaborate Board. With the Collaborate Board feature, teachers can write a prompt, they can choose the style of the board, and note when this option is selected, students cannot see each other's contributions as they write. Teachers are in charge of allowing the students to submit a response to a question, but wait until they receive everyone's responses in order to make it go live and have the students view it. Some ways to incorporate this application can include submission of assignments and anonymous student responses at the beginning, middle, or end of a lesson. Tool number 8, Time to Climb. With the Time to Climb feature, teachers can select options for the appearance of the game. Students can appear here as they join the game. They can choose a character and they can push to start to join the game. What students see when selecting the correct answer and what they see when selecting the incorrect answer. You can also add an image for students to reference as they answer the question. Some ways to incorporate this application can include a quick wrap up or check for understanding with some fun competition along the way.
Tool number 9, Flipgrid integration. In order to begin, teachers must first create a Flipgrid topic on Flipgrid's website. In Google Slides, after selecting the Flipgrid tool, the teacher then pastes the topic's link from Flipgrid. As the Nearpod lesson takes place, students click on that link and navigate to Flipgrid to respond to the prompt. If performed synchronously, be sure to allot time for students to respond to the prompt before continuing the lesson.
Tool number 10, video integration. With the video integration feature, educators can upload a video from their device, a cloud service, YouTube, Edpuzzle, or Nearpod's video library. In addition to this is video integration editing videos. With this feature, you can embed questions to check for comprehension and facilitate a personalized discussion about the video. You can edit the video clip to the appropriate length for your needs. Some ways to incorporate this application can include checking for comprehension while the students watch a video.
The first example of Nearpod in use is of a student-paced reading extension activity. The purpose of this lesson is to provide repeated exposure to structures after listening to a story. This helps build student confidence with a class text. The story from this lesson comes from Alisael. She is a native French speaker with an education channel on YouTube. The mini units based on Alisael's stories are comprised of a few activities. First, the students begin by watching the story on Edpuzzle. Next, they watch a read-along video created with Google Slides and the Loom screen recording service. To create the read-along in Google Slides, I begin by adding a section of the text of the story to the slide. Next, I add a video clip to the slide. The format options of the video allow teachers to select a specific part of the clip for playback. Next, the video is set to play automatically. This step ensures smooth transitions between slides and how the video plays. As the video plays, teachers use annotation tools to highlight the text as it is said aloud. As the students watch in Nearpod using the video feature, they answer comprehension questions. Now I will play a short period of the video to demonstrate.
Et aujourd'hui, je vais continuer l'histoire de Marie l'artiste. C'est Marie. Marie est une femme. Marie est une artiste. C'est Marie l'artiste.
Next, to become familiar with the story, the students complete matching pairs with phrases from the story. As you see here, the students are matching complete sentences. Afterwards, the students complete a fill-in-the-blank activity with the text. At the bottom of the screen, you see the word bank that the students use to fill in the clotheslines. Finally, the students draw on a storyboard. Teachers can upload a storyboard with sentences or story-based graphic organizers.
During this presentation, I will be sharing ways I have integrated Nearpod into daily lessons. There are various target language resources available online. One of the free resources for Spanish learners is the Spanish Playground. This website has different video playlists, including short Spanish conversation videos and a short series. This lesson will be focusing around a short video entitled Un regalo, a gift. As we shared in our introduction, these icons are helpful with guiding students with what they need to do, look at, or reference. We will be incorporating Nearpod add-ons along with Google Slides. The goal of this lesson is to introduce the target language in a way that prepares the students with the content first, using repetition and reflection of the video, using different activities to continue to assess their retention, understanding, and proficiency in the target language. I will pre-assess students, guide them through what the video will be about using vocabulary, and use scaffolding techniques to further their understanding and retention. Teachers can pre-assess students and find out the overall range of the class by providing students with the vocabulary connected to the video lesson, activating any prior knowledge, providing resources they can pull from, and setting students up to be more successful with comprehension of the target language video. We will be using the following Nearpod interactive add-ons within this lesson: open-ended question with recording, uploaded video, collaborate board, matching pairs, fill in blanks, quiz, and polls. One of the ways in which we can set our students up for success and give them some confidence is to see what prior knowledge they already have and supplying content that they can help them increase their understanding and comprehension. Students are provided a list of vocabulary words directly taken from the video that they will be watching later in the lesson. Students are then asked to write the translation of the words they know, look up any words they don't know, and place them into the correct parts of speech boxes. Students are able to practice pronunciation independently at a more comfortable pace and in a way that allows them to speak more fluently over time. As you can see here, they will be doing this on their own. Step 1, they're going to tell me what each word means in English, followed by step 2, which is record yourself in saying each word in Spanish. I want them to try to pronounce every single word in one recording. Once they are done, they can submit, and no one can hear it but me unless I share the audio with the class. As a class, we will review the words, their meanings, the part of speech, and we will pronounce each word together. The students will be shown the short conversational video centered around a gift. The videos are always on the shorter length of time, and the movements that the speakers use while speaking can help support student comprehension. The only objective of this first run of the short video is for students to reflect back on the vocabulary they just worked on, use context clues and visual movements to summarize the overall message of the video or conversation that these two individuals are having. Students can now share their comprehension on the Collaborate board. After watching the short video and having time to process the video context through vocabulary and visual imagery, students can use the Collaborate board to summarize anything and everything. So this is their first go through. They're asked the simple question, what did you manage to figure out based on the video or dialogue? Write down a short summary of what was happening in the video. I don't necessarily need them to do this in the target language. I also don't need them to do this in full sentences. I want them to be able to gather as much thought and information as they can on this Collaborate board to see what my students understood. The more, the better. To continue the vocabulary practice to increase retention, students engage in interactive activities to work with the vocabulary meaning and make connections with the context of the conversation. In this activity called matching pairs, the vocabulary that they initially had seen at the beginning of the lesson are now in these blocks. They have to match the correct English and Spanish form of the word. Now, using the dialogue from the video, students can see the words and use context clues to place the correct missing words from the bottom in the appropriate locations. Students might gain more confidence by using their reading comprehension skills to determine the meaning of the dialogue. So if seeing the vocabulary separate or listening to the video using Spanish, they weren't able to get it, maybe having the words together in sentence or question form might kind of give them a little bit more understanding on what the video could actually be about. By providing instant review of the dialogue in the target language, students can see the dialogue in its entirety. Teachers can use this moment to provide students the opportunity to figure out the different parts of the conversation between the two people from the video, not out loud, but rather in their heads. Just time to pause and use critical thinking skills. Students can now watch and listen to the video a second time with more understanding of the overall conversation. Instead of trying to listen for every word and getting lost, they can now listen with a little more ease. Students now have a second opportunity to use the Collaborate board. After watching the short video for the second time and having time to process the video through vocabulary and visual imagery, students can use the Collaborate board to summarize additional information or more thought out full context from the video. Now the students have a chance to see what they really understood from the conversation they just watched in the video. So now they see the dialogue that they had once seen in Spanish, now in English. Now we're going to assess student comprehension, and students will now have an opportunity to take a quick 5-question multiple choice quiz. You can either grade this or not. You can just use this as an opportunity for students to be able to assess what they understood, what they remembered, what they retained. So in this particular first question, you see that the sentence that was a part of the original dialogue is in there, and the last word needs to be selected. This is a second example of a question. And as I said, this is very short, so it's 5 questions total. The last thing we have on here is important for teachers. I want to take this opportunity with my students to give them an opportunity to tell me, hey, how helpful were the vocabulary activities in understanding the conversation in the video? Was this very helpful, or not helpful at all? Once I see what the students have polled, we are able to have a whole class conversation and determine what parts of this activity were helpful, what were some ways that maybe the parts of the lesson that were not helpful in their minds, how could I make it more helpful, and overall see if these things help for students to 1, understand, comprehend, and 2, retain through scaffolding. Now I will be sharing a Nearpod lesson for a project-based classroom. Again, these icons are helpful with guiding students with what they need to do, look at, or reference. We will be incorporating Nearpod add-ons along with Google Slides. The goal of this lesson is to provide students with a short silent film that can allow students to use context clues based on a culturally relevant scenario. Then students will be able to represent their story by writing a version of the story in their own words in the target language and create original images in a short audio storyboard. Teachers can pre-assess students and find out the overall range of the class by providing students with the vocabulary connected to the video topics, activating any prior knowledge, providing resources they can pull from, and setting students up to be more successful with creating a written and audio storybook in the target language connected to a culturally relevant topic. Activating prior knowledge, we can start with vocabulary words. As you see on the screen, these are vocabulary words that are all in Spanish in the target language, and these are all vocabulary words that are directly connected to the film. Next, we are going to allow our students to have a moment. They're going to have a moment to take the vocabulary as listed here. So you see step 1, what do these words mean in English? So they are going to see 20 words, all again connected to the film, and they're going to be able to write the English translation. So I always tell students, first start with the words that you already know. Then for the words that you don't know, take a guess and then look it up. Step 2, they are then going to record themselves saying each word in just one recording, but each word in Spanish. They are going to have time to pronounce each word to the best of their ability, and they're going to submit their vocabulary translation and recording. Next, again, using the same vocabulary, you will see that some of the words are in English and some of the words are in Spanish. This is called matching pairs. They are going to have to match the pairs. I always say to them, whatever's easier for you. You can either start by finding a Spanish word and trying to find the English translation, or vice versa. In this particular example, it takes 2 different matching pairs because there are so many vocabulary words. Each of these screens only has a limited amount of words that it can put on one screen, but it's the same idea. You're going to match the English and Spanish. Next is our collaborate board. So as you see here, I have a question in the target language. ¿Qué piensas? What do you think? ¿Qué vamos a mirar en el cortometraje? What are we going to see in this short film? I want students to have a moment and I want them to reflect on just the vocabulary. So they've had a moment in this lesson to look at some words, some phrases, and put an idea, right? Put a thought. I want them to reflect on it and take a moment to just write down what do they think is going to happen in the short film. And they're going to write it and submit it on the collaborate board. We can then discuss it as a class and we can see how many different ideas our students have. There's no names associated with the submissions on the collaborate board. So everyone is anonymous, but we can kind of see what our classmates are thinking. I can also time it that they don't all happen to go one by one. I can hold off that I have to accept the submissions. So the students will see all the submissions come up at once. And we'll be able to take a moment, reflect, see how many students agree with some ideas. Let's see how, crazy the ideas can get, how funny the ideas can get. And sometimes I'm very interested to see how connected or how correct some of these guesses are. Then we're going to watch the short film together. This short film is called Hair Love. After the film, and after the kids kind of have their emotions about it, they're going to see a very short target language. I call it a paragraph or a few lines. What this is something that I created. So it's just a few lines. I tried to keep it very short and focused on some key topics. I looked at the unit that I was on and I try to connect this to certain vocabulary words. And then what I did for this is actually fill in the blanks. This is an opportunity for students to, for the first time, see all of the vocabulary come together and have something to read and maybe gauge more of an understanding of how the summarization came to be. And they're able to pull the vocabulary into the correct spots. I always want my students to see something more than once. So instead of having them watch the short film again together on Nearpod, what I have them do is I have them go onto Edpuzzle. I loaded the movie onto Edpuzzle, and then I also had questions. The questions are all related in some way to that short paragraph of information, that summarization I put together. So this is a way for students to watch the film, to be asked questions in the target language. All of the questions are in Spanish, all of the answers are in Spanish. And this is a way, again, to see that vocabulary come to life, that repetition to retention. Then my students are going to break out into groups. And in these groups, I'm going to have them have an opportunity. During virtual learning, I did this in breakout rooms, but in class, I would just do it just regular, how you would put groups together by tables. And I'm going to give them an opportunity to just reflect as a group. What are some thoughts and reflections, and what are some questions and insights that they come together with regarding this short film? This is their time to prepare the big ideas, the themes, and the overall topics to focus on. This is their very first step of what their version of the story is going to be. So this is a time to put all of their thoughts together and for me to actually force them to put it down on paper, but essentially this is a virtual paper. Then this lesson obviously would carry to another day, and so they'll get another opportunity to see the vocabulary words in voz alta. They'll get to actually say the words out loud. I want to make sure that they know how to pronounce the words. This is an extended version of the vocabulary. So you see for this particular screen, they are just the verbs associated with the film. And I really encourage them to use the vocabulary, especially the verbs that I have provided them, to just start their process of creating their story. Sometimes when students just have a blank page, they don't know where to start. Sometimes it's harder for them. So this is kind of their way of, okay, you may not have to use all of these, but maybe you want to just take a few and start from there. And how would you incorporate them into your version of the story? Then we go into the creation of the short story. So when one person is going to be responsible for uploading the audio visual story book that they put together. Some resources that they're going to end up using for this project are the Vocaroo, Storyboard That, and Canva websites. And some reminders. You already have vocabulary and words, use them. The story is being told in either first person or third person. Personalize their story, right? This short silent film didn't really have any names associated with it. It didn't have specific things that now they can create on their own. And lastly, I want them to add a new spin to the story. So I don't need them to summarize the story of Hair Love. I want them to recreate the story. So it does not have to follow the exact events from the film. I even break down steps 1 through 5, providing students with steps sometimes, especially when it has to do with multiple resources, it could be overwhelming. So however we want to do this, whether it's, step 1 is for one day of class, step 2 is for another day of class, as long as they know exactly what they should be using, how to use them, and where it kind of comes up in the process of their story creation is helpful for students. And as you can see here, the resources are in blue: Vocaroo, Storyboard That, Canva, and QR code generator. This is a color-coded rubric regarding expectations and what that looks like for comprehensibility and the quality of communication. This is a place for them to understand what I'm going to be looking for and how they could not only increase their grade, but more than that, actually progress with their proficiency in the target language, both in written and verbal form. And the last thing is the submission of the story. So since it is a virtual story, it's something that they created that's going to include imagery and QR codes that have their audio story. It's the stories being told to us. So it's not something I want to read, it's something I want to hear. So they're going to be able to submit it on the Collaborate board on Nearpod. And this is an example of how it would look. So the actual QR codes are the submission. So if you scan the QR code, it'll actually open up a document and you will see the visual storyboard cartoon imagery that they put together. And you'll also be able to hear them tell the story to you. So in the red, that is a Latinx speaker, a heritage speaker. And then on the right in yellow, you will see that's what I call a motivated speaker. So someone who does not come from a home or family or a way in which they grew up speaking the target language, but they are extremely motivated and passionate about learning the language, and they speak very well, in my opinion. So you can scan it, and I hope that you enjoy. Thank you. We would like to thank you for viewing our session today. This presentation is a condensed version of a workshop series that we present during the school year.
For more information about this expanded PD session or other PD opportunities, please visit our website by following the link or scanning the QR code.